Ah, connection. Here we are. So. Here we are. Okie doke. Can we see something? Go away. Like this. Okay. Here we are. Finally we can start. Actually, this is the first photograph of mine, which might explain my technological interests. I think it was like 15, 16 months old, with a screwdriver and a plug. It was made in 1960. So, all right, here we are. Blah, 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 blah. This is a typical two-color transmission hologram master situation, which is using, actually in this case for volume holograms, it's using RGB lasers, as you can see, in green, in red, and in blue. This is really sophisticated setup, which creates, I can show you at the end, bing, 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 bing. Have a look. Holograms like this, maybe we could center them a little bit more. This doesn't look so funny. One moment. Or maybe I put it here with the same. Oh no, you can see something. This is a little animated GIF, which is showing the quality of this kind of, this is a reflection hologram in glass, which is actually made with one of the, it's the most sophisticated emulsion available in holography today. This emulsion has resolutions, or let's say the core of the emulsion itself has sizes between 5 and 8 nanometers. This is one of the reasons why we meanwhile in the original master hologram have resolutions in the area of 20 to 80 nanometers, or let's say in an H1 master we have, if you want to express it in lines, in H1 master exposed with this kind of setup, we have a resolution of 50,000 and more lines per millimeter. Just to give you an idea of what we are doing there, this is really high resolution, highest resolution. It's in the area of light wavelengths. So this is maybe a little bit too far for the moment. Here is my little introduction, but obviously I can't see it all. Let me see. I have to make it a little smaller. This might be the solution. Okay, here we are. So, I also wanted to mention, this is not only the 25th Congress here tonight, which I'm very delighted to see such many people and interest in this also technology. This is also, exactly in this year, it was 60 years ago, that the inventor of holography, Dennis Gabor, published the holographic principle in written form the first time. I'll explain that a little bit later. I'd like to start here with the roots, with the beginning, which is, of course, photography. The first photographs were made in the 19th century, about 1840, 1842, something like that. The first, let's say, real photographs were produced in recent times. So very soon after that, this is what I saw. The first stereograms I saw were produced in 1843, showing posing girls, of course. So these work with so-called anaglyphs, we call it anaglyphs, which is nothing else but the glasses, you probably all know. Colored glasses. Anaglyphs can have colored filters, with cyan, red and blue. Different colors can be used for that. And they can be made of polarized filter lenses, or they can be nowadays made with shutter glasses. So maybe I should comment some words about that in regard to the stereoscopic principle. This is a trick. All real 3D impressions use the capacity of our brains to create a three-dimensional perception out of two different images. When we have here the mouse, we see the reflection of the light of the mouse in two eyes, and our brain is learned during evolution to combine this into a real spatial impression. This is something absolutely basic, which is used for stereograms, it's used for lenticulars, it's used for, finally, even for holography, though holography is quite different. In general, here, what I said here, during the remaining 19th century, we had stereoscopic cameras and the first 3D film projectors. But this was not really impressing technology at that time. The next steps were what you all probably know. We've got samples here, and I'll show them after the lecture, are lenticulars. Lenticulars is a special word for, in German we say Wackelbilder. Linsenrasterfolien, which is nothing else but it's a special kind of stereograms. Well, this Mr. Ives, in the early 1908, he realized that when he cut it stereographic pictures with a angle between each other. The pictures have a parallax, and this is creating normally a stereographic impression. And when he cut that into little stripes and put them under lenses, then he realized that he could see a 3D, or could have a 3D perception impression without any help, without any glasses. So that was the time when lenticulars were created. Meanwhile, lenticulars are not that bad, and they have also quite a lot of applications. In general, in lenticulars, we have this different origination or techniques which allow us to do, let's say, two-channel flips quite easy. This is probably what everyone knows. Or animations, let's say it's starting at 6 or 8 frames. I have some samples here I can show later on, which already use 120 frames, which is real video sequence showing for a couple of seconds. We've got some pictures here of a Matrix film as a lenticular. It's quite funny. Then additional, which are variations. Zoom, of course, we can do. Morph, we can do. Pseudo 3D is what people normally say 3D on lenticulars. We call it pseudo because it's not really 3D. It's made out of 2D artwork, which is put in front and behind each other. Yeah, and thus creating a spatial impression, but it's not real 3D. This is something I would like to express. I've written that here. I say real 3D, it's meant in regard to lenticulars. They give us a kind of spatial impression on depth, but with a quite limited viewing angle compared to real holograms. Lenticulars are a lens variation of stereograms, but not a hologram. I have to insist, because it's absolutely, completely different technique. So, I've got a link here for, I don't know, I hope it works. It does. Here, a link to internet. Hello. Okay. This is just showing few samples of the different available techniques. So here we are. Two-channel flips, animation, little sequences. Pseudo 3D, it's not very good. It's always only 2D here on a beamer. I'll show some different stuff later. So this is pseudo 3D. Yeah, and define the best 3D technique we can offer is, we call it photorealistic 3D. This is used by, or it's produced by doing a camera movement in front of the object. This is always used for different types, also for holograms. It's a stereoscopic principle, so we've got an object there, we put a camera on a rail, move it, thus creating a 3D information of the object. Finally, we can put that 3D information using special interlacing programs, like the cards you probably have seen, the cards for 25C3. The new ones we have produced. This is a typical application of but it's a 2D, or it's a pseudo 3D. It's not a real 3D. But they look nice, in my eyes. And Wetterfrosch has made his first card in 3D. So, I've got a link here. This is at the end, this is the link of the lecture with additional notes and links and so on, which is here. I can give it. It's also on the events, CCC event. You can find it on the web server of the Chaos. So you'll find here. This is an interesting article of another pioneer of 3D, stereoscopic 3D and 3D projection system based on stereoscopic technologies. Michael Starks, he is an old pioneer. He used to live in the United States and now he's living in China. This is brand new. He just wrote it, as you can see, in 2008. It's funny. It's interesting to read if you're interested in that technology. So let's finish with these beginning procedures. Let's go to the real thing. Holography. The early days of holography. It's quite interesting that the inventor of holography, Dennis Gabor, didn't want to invent holography. Actually, he made dozens of inventions and patents which he didn't want to invent. Yeah, it was like by coincidence, he said. Suddenly, something occurred to him. And this is, actually, he was working, this is a little background about Dennis Gabor first. Holography is based, he gave the name holos, it's based on holos, the Greek holos, which is whole, and the graphein, which is drawing, writing. So writing the whole thing is the exact translation of holograms or holography. So Dennis Gabor studied here in Berlin at the Technische University between 1920 and 27. Written here. He made his Dr. Inc. in electrical engineering in 27. At that time, physics was quite on its top here in Berlin, with people like Einstein, Planck, von Laue, Nernst, and so on. So he met them often, went over to the University of Berlin and discussed with them, and he was really a great head in my eyes. He's quite interesting. So when he finished and got his diploma, in 1927, he started working at Siemens and Halske, also as a research engineer here in Berlin, until Hitler got the power, and then the best thing he could do was escaping. He went through Hungary first, and then to London first, and then later on UK, let's say. So then the World War happened, and the Second World War was over. And in the year 47, he still worked there in the UK at the Thomson Houston Company Labs in Rugby, between 33 and 48. And at that time, he researched on the improvement of the resolving power of electron microscopes. This is a quite complex explanation. I'll try to make it in short words. The problem with the electron microscopes at that time was they were not capable of resolving atomic lattices. And this is what, of course, everyone wanted at that time, seeing the atom or the molecule. But the electron microscope was not capable of doing that because of some physical and mathematical limitations, which overcame later on by using different technologies, also inspired by Gabor. But at that time, it was not possible. So they had, let's say, with the electronic microscope, they had the two problems with the sphericity of the image and the, let's say, unsharpness of the image. It's always one or the other of these aspects disturbed the complete reconstruction of the image. So they could not